Kubb has many different variants and sets of rules, but this video is based on the official World Championship rules. Start by setting up the playing field. It should be 5 by 8 meters large. Put 5 Kubb on both of the shorter sides and put the king in the middle of the field. Split the players into 2 teams and position yourselves on opposite sides of the playing field. Decide or randomize who will start and give that team the 6 battens. And now you're ready to play. In Kubb, you compete against each other to be the first team to knock down the opponent's Kubb and then knock down the king. The starting team begins by throwing the 6 battens at the opponent's Kubb from their baseline behind their own Kubb. The battens may only be thrown with an underhand throw and with the batten pointing in the throwing direction. The batten must leave the throwing hand straight in the throwing direction, so no helicopter throws are allowed. The Kubb that are struck and fall are called field Kubb, while Kubb that remain standing are called base Kubb. After all 6 battens have been thrown, it is the opposing team's turn to throw. Before a team begins to throw the battens, they must always check if any of their base Kubb have been knocked over. In such case, they are now considered field Kubb, and before a team throws the battens, they must first throw the field Kubb. Field Kubb may be thrown crosswise and rotating, but still only with an underhand throw, and all Kubb throws are made from the team's baseline. The field Kubb must be thrown so to stay on the opponent's side of the field. If a Kubb lands outside the field, it has to be rethrown. If it lands outside again, it becomes a penalty Kubb, which the opponent may place anywhere they want, but not closer to the king or corner pin than the length of a batten. Then all the thrown field Kubb should be raised, and this should be done straight up where it lies, but in any direction. If it lies on the line, it should, if possible, be raised so that it's in, meaning that at least half of the Kubb is over the middle of the line. While throwing the field Kubb, first all of them are thrown, then those lying outside the field are rethrown. If while you throw a Kubb, you happen to knock over a Kubb already standing on the opponent's side of the field, it is raised up where it lands. After all field Kubb have been thrown and raised up, the team throws the battens. But if there are field Kubb on the opponent's side, they must be knocked over before the team can throw at the opponent's base Kubb. If a base Kubb is knocked over before all field Kubb has been knocked down, it's raised up again and still counts as a base Kubb. If a throw first hits the last field Kubb and then a base Kubb, that base Kubb counts as a hit and must be thrown as field Kubb by the opponents when it's their turn. Note that the king may only be knocked over at the end of the game. If it's knocked over before then, by a batten or a Kubb, the team that threw it loses. If there are field Kubb left on the side of the team whose turn it is, that team may stand at an imaginary line that extends from the field Kubb closest to the king and make their throws from there. They may throw at field Kubb and then base Kubb from there. However, they may never throw at the king from that line. The game then continues back and forth in this manner. When a team has managed to knock over all the opponent's Kubb, they should, from the baseline, start throwing at the king, and the team that first knocks down the king wins. The World Championship rules mention 2 variants that are not used in official matches. Firstly, if you want a faster game, you can shorten the length of the playing field from 8 to about 6 meters. Secondly, you can play with the rule that when the field Kubb are thrown out, they can be placed on top of each other. Suppose a team has 3 Kubb to throw. The first Kubb is thrown. If the second Kubb is thrown and hits the first Kubb, then those 2 Kubb are raised up on top of each other. Then when the third Kubb is thrown, and hopefully knocks over the other 2, then all 3 are stood up as a tower, and can be knocked over later with a batten. The Kubb that have not been hit are raised up as single Kubb. If the tower is too high to stand by itself, you can, for example, only include 3 Kubb and let the rest stand beside it. Now, you can play Kubb according to the World Championship rules.